My father gave me a broken ranch when it became worth millions. My family came back. My father gave my brother a $1.1 million penthouse. Then he handed me the deed to a collapsing Montana ranch and said, take it. Nobody else wants it anyway. 3 years later, that same ranch was worth millions. So when my brother lost everything and my parents told me to sell it to save him, I asked one question. Would he have done this for me? Nobody answered. So I called the investors, the press, and half the county. If they wanted my land, they could watch me keep it in public. Ethan was the future before he earned anything. When he graduated law school, my parents rented a Chicago steakhouse. Dad gave a speech about legacy, then handed him the deed to a penthouse with a river view. 2 years later, I graduated with agricultural ecology. We ate at Olive Garden because Dad said downtown parking was a waste. Ethan did not come. 3 days later, Dad called me to the house. Rain tapped the windows while he slid a folder across the kitchen table. Your grandfather's ranch, he said. 40 acres outside Bozeman. The photos showed broken fences, dry fields, and a farmhouse peeling like old skin. The place is basically worthless, Dad said. But maybe you can do something with it. Mom smiled. It suits you better than city life. I looked at the appraisal. $240,000. Ethan got a penthouse. I got dead land and a tax bill. Then Dad leaned back and said, at least if you screw this up, you won't destroy anything important. Something inside me went very still. I nodded and said, okay. 3 weeks later, I drove 6 hours to Montana. The farmhouse smelled like dust and cold wood. The water ran brown. The pipes rattled at night like they were warning me. No one called to ask if I was okay. Mom called once and said, how's the little ranch? Little ranch, like I was playing pretend. I had $3,900 left. Then Walter Ruiz stopped by, retired cattle farmer, rusted Ford truck, hands like fence posts. He watched me fight an irrigation valve and said, kid, you're using the wrong pressure. Walter walked the land with me. Soil, sun, water table, east ridge. Nobody in my family had ever asked me questions like my answers mattered. At the North Field, he said, you know what grows well in stubborn dirt? What? Sunflowers. So I planted sunflowers. Every dollar I had went into seeds and irrigation. By April, my bank account was down to $41. My best friend Jade sent me $700 with a note. Future. Sunflower Queen Fund. My family had millions. Jade had a studio over a vape shop and still believed in me first. The first flower bloomed on June 17th. One yellowhead against dead brown land. By August, the North Field was gold. Cars started stopping. Then photographers. Then families from 3 states away. A drone video went viral. I charged $5 for parking because I was desperate. The first Saturday, I made $1,870 in wrinkled cash and cried on the porch because something I built had finally worked. By 2022, the land my father called worthless was valued near $4 million. That was when my family remembered my number. Mom arrived first. Uncomfortable in designer sunglasses and Montana duck. Your brother is having a difficult time, she said. Ethan had lost nearly $2 million. Crypto, loans, private lenders, the penthouse as collateral. Then came the real reason. Your father thinks maybe you could help. You want me to bail him out? He's your brother. I was your daughter when you handed me dead land and called it worthless. Her jaw tightened. Then she said, your brother was always meant for bigger things. I nodded. Okay. She thought that meant agreement. It did not. 3 weeks later, a venture capital group offered a $12 million expansion partnership. Then Dad and Ethan showed up at sunset. Ethan looked ruined. Dad looked like authority wearing out. We think the best option is selling the ranch, Dad said. Ethan leaned forward. You already won, Clara. Sell it, split it, everybody survives. Would you have done this for me? I asked. Silence. That was my answer. Dad said, you have 72 hours to decide. I used 3 of them. I called my lawyer, the investors, local media, and every employee who had helped build that place. At noon, my family arrived to a crowd of 200 people. Cameras, customers, investors, reporters, sunflowers, moving behind the stage. Ethan stepped out, smiling. Then he saw the banner. Whitmore's Sunflower Ranch announces historic expansion partnership. His face broke first. I walked to the microphone. 3 years ago, I was handed land people called worthless. I said, my father told me nobody wanted it. Cameras turned toward him. But sometimes the people who underestimate you are only revealing the limits of their own imagination. Then I held up the contract. Today, Whitmore Ranch enters a $12 million expansion partnership. Ethan stumbled back. Dad went pale. For once, they were not deciding what my life was worth. I was later. Dad found me by the old barn. I was wrong about you, he said. I looked at the fields. You were wrong about the land too. Today, the farmhouse is warm. That matters more than people think. The girl who came here with $41 thought she had been abandoned. She had not. She had been planted, and planted things grow wild.